일단 패치를 했다는 점에서 정말 좋다고 생각합니다. 아무래도 패치 내용 자체가 초반에 관련된 패치가 많아서 그런지 예전과 다른 양상과 개념이 나와서 재밌고, 물론 연습을 더 해봐야 알겠지만 토스가 그래도 전 패치보다는 좋은 것 같습니다. 아쉬운 점은 클램 선수를 못 이겼다는 점에서 아쉽다는 평가를 내리고 싶고요. 그리고 저의 고질적인 문제가 이번 조별리그에서 나왔다고 생각해서 부족한 부분이 많았던 것 같습니다. 제가 아무래도 토스전을 못하다 보니 토스전 하는 게 더 위협이 크다고 생각이 듭니다. 올리베이라가 이번에 토스로 하는 거 보고 저랑 할 때는 토스만 하지 마라 라는 생각을 가지고 있었는데 토스를 딱 해가지고 게임 내내 불안했습니다. WTA 같은 경우에는 아무래도 팀리그다 보니까 내가 저도 믿고 맡길 팀원이 있어서 마음이 편한데, 개인 리그 같은 경우에는 제가 다 해야 되는 부분인지라 마음가짐에서부터 다르다고 생각합니다. 스타투 팬 여러분들, 마스터 콜로세움 8에서 재미를 느꼈으면 좋겠습니다. 그리고 스타투 하는 유망주들에게 지금은 힘든 시기지만 우리가 좋은 경기력을 보여주면 좋아질 거라고 생각합니다. 모두 파이팅!
Let's go. So very quick translations. The first question, Zoun was asked what he thinks about the patch, and Zoun responded that he thinks that Protoss is better than the previous patch, so he's enjoying Protoss at the moment. Then after that, he was asked about Raynor and Clem's Protoss and the PvP matchup if they off-raced against him.
새로운 패치 버전은 테란이 약간 빠른 속도로 게임하는 걸 강조하는 버전이라고 생각해서 아직은 좀 적응 단계에 있는 것 같아요. 그룹 스테이지는 뚫어서 정말 다행이라고 생각했어요. 상당히 힘든 그룹이라 쉽지 않을 거라고 생각했거든요. 제가 레이너 토스에 대해서는 잘 모르겠지만
They're asking about Raynor and Clem's off-race again.
연습할 때도 실제로 제가 많이 집니다. 팀 리그는 여러
questions are so
재미가
fast.
있고 개인 리그는 다전제를 보는 재미가 있는 것 같아요. 특별한 전략을 준비한다기보단 우승을 위해서 뭔가 실현 가능한 모든 전략을 약간 연습하는 그런 느낌으로 준비하고 있어요. 마스터 콜로세움 8 정말 우승하고 싶거든요. 항상 스타투를 시청해주시고 응원해주시는 팬분들한테 정말 감사하고 새해 복 많이 받으시길 바라겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Okay, we're good. So very quick rough translations here as I was using Google Lens to translate the subtitles. But winding it back, they weren't being asked about specifically Clem, they were being asked about Clem and Raynor. They were being asked about their off race. So the more fun questions, they were basically asking Zoun, like if Raynor and Clem, if they play Protoss, like what do you think about your chances against them? Like how well are you gonna perform? Zoun was saying that he wasn't too confident in PvP, so he was hoping not to play against their off race. Same with Oliveira. He brought up Oliveira. He was like, yeah, I saw Oliveira play Protoss as well, and I'm not feeling too confident, so hopefully they don't play Protoss against me. GuMiho was asked the same question. GuMiho said that he thinks that Clem's Protoss is really strong. He has beaten Clem's Protoss before, but it is definitely something that he fears, and he's not really too threatened by Raynor's Protoss. He's He mainly referred to Clem. He mainly referred to Clem's off race. They were also asked about their group stage performances and how they thought they performed. Likewise, they were also asked about the current patch. I mentioned that Zoun feels like Protoss is a lot better this patch. GuMiho was talking about how he feels that the new patch is a little bit more fast paced, which he appreciates as well. But we're jumping into our first series in the bottom hand corner. We have Zoun, our Korean Protoss. And in the top right, we have a GuMiho, the Green Terran. Also, I do apologize if the audio wasn't going through previously. I do apologize if that's the case. Sorry, I may have had some audio issues here. It's all good. But yeah, with that, we are now getting into our second best of 5 of the night. And if you're in the chat, you know what time it is. It is Gamba time. Predictions are open. Place your bets on who you think will take the series. Best of luck in the chat. Ooh. But I didn't get everything for the GuMiho series because they were cutting really fast. Like they were cutting back and forth, so I didn't get to see all of the subtitles for GuMiho's interview. So rough translations. Here we go. Player skill level differing in race matchup is interesting. I mean, that's always been the case. Like, for example, Cyril's weakest matchup has been ZVZ for a long time. Clem's has been TvT. You have Ryung as a TvT specialist. You have Solar as a ZVZ specialist. That's always been the case where certain players' matchups are weaker than other matchups. Like, everyone has the weakest matchup. So that's why, like, generally you'd have one player that's stronger than another, but against like another player's race of a different level, like they can sometimes, you know, cause upsets. Like that's typically how things go in StarCraft. That's traditionally how they've always been. It's how it's always been. Like coming into this, for example, as we settle into our fresh best of 5, Zoun's weakest matchup is PvZ. It's where he struggles in the most. PvT is one of his strongest matchups, so because of that, coming in against GuMiho, Zoun, he has a good chance here to cause an upset. Even though I would say that GuMiho is the stronger overall player, Zoun, he is more confident specifically against other Terran players, or at least he's had better results against other top Terran players. So we'll see how we settle in. What I should emphasize as well coming into this, of course, is GuMiho is a very unique player. GuMiho, he does play with his own builds. He does often play mech against Protoss as well, which is something that very rarely occurs from other top Terran players. So, and likewise, GuMiho comes up with his own builds. Does very often come up with his own builds that he does whip out at big premier events. So GuMiho is very unique in that sense and very unlike other Terran players. So you might be good against Terran, but are you good against GuMiho? That's the better question. Here we are settling in. For now, GuMiho did go for the high ground CC. I believe racks into factory, followed by the starport here. That was starport after CC from the side of GuMiho. And GuMiho is going for an early tank drop. Very aggressive build here by GuMiho. He is gearing up and soon to be moving out with tanks, with marines, with medevacs. And I believe Zoun is in the dark. I believe Zoun has not seen this, as the observer is pointing out. Again, the early push here from GuMiho. Back at home, Zoun opening up Twilight Council into Blink. As here we go, the tanks are moving out. Thankfully, Zoun does scout this. Zoun does confirm. He is aware of what's going on and needs to prepare. He needs warp ins ASAP. Likewise, I appreciate this being active. Again, the goal for Zoun is to slow this down. To slow this down, these are vanilla Marines. There's no stim. There is no stim. Marines are getting picked up. First Marine goes down. Ideally, he's hoping to force a siege as well. As Zoun, he's forced back. Oh! Oh, a bit of miscontrol out of Zoun. Does move command forward. And he did miss a volley. There we go. Gets a second Marine and a third. 4 Marines going to be going down. Tanks are moving in. They get a Stalker. Hopping up micro out of GuMiho, saves the tank. And now Zoun is up against the wall. He needs a couple more seconds here for the Immortal. The Immortal's on the way. Shield battery is done. And with the help of the Immortal, he can focus down that tank. As the gateway does fall. And goes to the dive, goes to the blink. He gets one of the tanks. Gets one, and he should be able to get the other as well. And the Immortal has arrived just in time. Force fields the Marines. And Zoun defends. Zoun, he does hold, he does defend, he does preserve his Stalkers, does preserve his Immortal as well. He holds. And GuMiho has to race back home. Zoun gonna try and to chase him down. Okay, bold move. I mean, GuMiho, the tanks are exposed. If Zoun can catch the medevac. Oh, he has to blink. The last of the tanks, they do siege up in time. GuMiho getting ready for the counterattack. He is set up. And he does force back the Stalkers. GuMiho holds. Whew, he does hold on. Behind the Zoun, he did not reinforce. He's been tanking. Throws down the third expansion. Throws down the Bay into charge. Very nice setup here from Zoun. Is settling it. So we have a game. Despite how chaotic, despite how aggressive GuMiho did start, we do have a game here as GuMiho gets forced back home. Now, what I will say when it comes to the failed push here by GuMiho is that he only lost one tank. Only one tank went down. If you recall, he saved the second tank. He saved the medevac as well. So he preserved a bunch of his high-tech units. With that, that means that he can follow this up with a stim timing, with a 2-base push instead. So GuMiho, he only really lost Marines and the one tank. So his army still poses a threat. So the Banshee moves out, is spotted by the pylon. Zoun is getting ready. 2 more Raxes on the way, and my eyes for GuMiho are on whether or not he expands, whether or not he gets a third CC. Or if he goes for a 2-base all-in. Scans, spots the observer, brings it down. Zoun is in the dark. Let's go. I can't call Clem the new best player until his TvT is patched. Clem is, I would say, the best player in the world, 100%. And he doesn't need to improve his TvT if his TvP, sorry, if his PvT is better. Is the reality. Which I think is a really unique approach, and definitely a lot of fun. I mean, there's a reason why the Clem is a world champion. As he moves out. GuMiho, I mean. So GuMiho does move out. Oh! Runs into the army, hot pickup. Does save the tanks. GuMiho slowly pushing forward. Setting up his tank line. Attempting to zone away Zoun. Again, that is what? 6 to Jeez. That is 6 tanks, by the way. That's a very heavy tank count. It's basically a 2-base all-in. As we did mention, GuMiho, he turned his 1-base all-in, or his 1-base push into a 2-base all-in. The tanks are within range of the Nexus, and Zoun, he's up against the wall. He is pinned back. Zelze coming from behind, but again against 6 tanks, I mean, they do force some friendly fire. 1 tank goes down, 5 tanks left, but the base falls. Yeah, the Nexus goes down, and GuMiho is snowballing out of control, pushing in towards the natural. Zoun taking it slow, doesn't fully engage yet, but again, is being forced further and further back. GuMiho going into the main, he's crazy. Let's go. Does get within range, boosts in, the army's out of position. Stalkers, they respond. They get one of the tanks. A bit of a chaotic fight here for GuMiho. He sims in, chases down one of the Colossus, just barely. Colossus goes down. Push in towards the main base, still gaining ground, still pushing in. It's still pushing in. Moving forward. Yeah, and GuMiho is just pulling Zoun apart. There is still no expansion. There's no third base. The main base production's under fire. GuMiho now getting a third on location. Technically not all in, but I mean, it was technically expanding, but he doesn't need to. As he can just keep pushing in towards the main. Observer gets picked off. Zoun coming in from behind, getting on top of the tanks. GuMiho, he responds, he unloads. Yeah, we'll be able to defend. He shuts down the Immortals. Oh my god, 2 Immortals go down. The 3rd Immortal as well will not escape. And Zoun, he barely has a standing army. Barely has anything left here. And GG gets called with that. GuMiho, he will take game number 1. Whew, GG. GG, well played. A very aggressive style here out of GuMiho, and initially going for the initial 1-base move outs, or I should say 1.5 base move outs, with the early tank, with the early medevacs. But again, remember, it was so crucial, so important that GuMiho did not lose his army when he backed up. He only lost the 1 tank. We were pointing it out. He was able to build up his tank count over time. He moved out on 2 bases with 6 tanks. It was a brutal 2-base all-in with 6 tanks. It was crazy, and Zoun was not able to slow it down. He was not able to force the siege early on, pick off any of the tanks, and slow down the army. By the time GuMiho got across the map, it was just too much to handle. Zoun could not engage with that. GG. GG, well played. It was also really cool to see GuMiho dropping into the main. Instead of pushing towards the natural, which Zoun was expecting, he was not expecting the drop into the main base instead. Did kind of deviate, did divert, catching Zoun out of position. And with that, GuMiho takes a lead. GuMiho does take a lead, and now we're getting ready for game number 2. Game number 2 is going to be here on Ultra Love. Let's go. Now, Ultra Love is a smaller map compared to Amygdala. That is true. It is a smaller map, so drop play and move outs do hit faster, do hit harder, but it is also a more defendable map. There's a ramp coming into the natural, there's a ramp coming into the third, sorry, I should say no ramp to the third base, but we have choke points coming to the third base. There's a tower you can knock down as well to buy time, so this map is known for being very defensive despite how small it is. Not saying that all-ins can't work, they can, but there are definitely things working against you if you try to all-in. So we'll see if GuMiho goes for another aggressive opener. I'm sure he will in some way, shape, or form. That's typically how GuMiho approaches these matchups. He's not really one to play standard and play macro, to play normal. Does always have like a little twist to things, a GuMiho twist, if you will. Which is why GuMiho is always a lot of fun to watch, always to appreciate it, always a lot of fun to embrace GuMiho's matches. Just to see what different things he brings to the table. Always. Here we go. GuMiho playing from the Christmas cabin. Exactly. Ah, it's beautiful. Love to see it. It's cozy. That's what's important. Very cozy. As we're settling into game 2, and in the top right hand corner we have Zoun, the Korean Protoss. In the bottom left, we have his opponent. We have GuMiho, Korean Terran. Let's go. Here we go. Currently, Seryl's best matchup is ZVZ, I think. Just because we've seen Seryl lose to certain players doesn't mean this matchup is suddenly worse. Clem has been losing to Clem, but Seryl has been losing to Clem, but Seryl still, I would say, has the best ZVT in the world. Just because he's losing to the best player in the world doesn't mean that he's suddenly weak in a matchup. So I think it's important to bear that in mind when it comes to context and when it comes to your view on a player and their skill and their level. Just because he's losing to a player, that says more about the player he's losing to, less so about them themselves. But for now, we're settling in. We're settling into our matchup. Likewise, we've seen both Zoun and GuMiho lose to Seryl recently. I mean, it's Seryl. He's crazy. Doesn't mean they're weaker against the Zerg matchup. So now we do have Zoun going for his own natural, just going for a gate cyber expand out of Zoun. And my eyes are on GuMiho, double gas into a faster factory. Now, we saw last game that this led into an early tank drop, that is true. I do not expect the same build 2 games in a row. I don't expect the same tank drop, but this can lead into early Banshee production, into Banshee tank. This can lead into earlier tech, a committed Widowmine drop as well. There are options here. GuMiho is even one to rush into BCs in this matchup. It's very rare, but if anyone does it, it's GuMiho. Again, he's crazy like that. Aye. This is getting a CC on location. Opening up a Reaper Hellion initially. Here we go. So now there's that starport follow-up here from GuMiho. So just going racks into factory into CC. Tech labs are on the way. I'm curious if this is for an add-on swap into Banshee production. Again, Banshee play has been quite trendy amongst the Korean Terran players in this matchup. Zoun back at home. Getting to his tech of choice, going for a Robo Opener. Okay, this is a rarer sight. Meanwhile, GuMiho, he busts into the main or into the natural, going for the mineral line. Probe's going to be going down. He gets 1, he gets 2. Oh, barely doesn't get the second. 1 probe goes out. Nice force field. Just shuts down the Reapers. Very nice defense here by Zoun. Losing only 1 worker. Losing only 1 probe. And with that, Zoun defends. And again, behind this is a Robo first. Now, with a Robo Opener, this is typically very defensive. This leads into early Immortal, early Observer, early Colossus with the earlier Bay as well. The downside of going for a Robo Opener is that you're lacking map control because you don't have any Blink Stalkers. No Blink Stalkers, no Phoenixes either, no Oracles. So just a much more defensive start here from Zoun. Meanwhile, I did mention that I didn't expect the early tank drop here, but the medevac is moving out. Tank production has begun. GuMiho is being active, at least somewhat. Making his way across the map. He is less committed than previously, but the Viking is an interesting addition. Meanwhile, GuMiho, can he reach the mineral line? No, he can at least reach the Robo. Oh, shot going off the Stalkers. Yeah, he can reach the mineral line. Aye, aye, aye. We've seen this on Abyssal Reef, but I wasn't too certain this could happen here on Ultra Love as well. So nice harassment. GuMiho, he backs off. Just pokes in, disrupts the economy, and pulls away. Yeah, no big commitment here from GuMiho. Saludos de Chile, saludos, five saludos. Buenos días, buenos días. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? GuMiho retreats. Again, his tank production has been building up since the start of the game. He's up to 3, soon to be 4 tanks. And similarly to the previous game, not the same, but similarly, he is working towards a 2-base push with mass tank. He's going to have 5, soon to be 6 tanks. No stim, but the tanks are what matters. You see Zoun trying to slow down the push, going for the tower. But GuMiho, he breaks through, takes down a Stalker. He gets 1. Ooh, medevac taking a lot of hits. Oh! Ooh, medevac does survive. And GuMiho is getting within range of the production of the Robo. At the same time, Zoun dropping across the map. Robo's under fire. Immortal production going to be denied. GuMiho does have reinforcements. The boys are being pulled. SCVs are going down. We do see Zoun trying to break out. But he's pushing into 3 tanks. Oh my god. Yeah, the tank volleys are insane. 1 tank goes down. But he gets the Immortal. Oh, just barely not. The Immortal survived. No! The Immortal goes down. No energy left. And GuMiho, he maintains this position just barely. He's going to be cleaned up. The Immortal does pop out. Zoun holds. Whew. Zoun does hold. I don't know if you noticed how low the Robo got. The Robo got insanely low. It was so close. The Robo survived. The Immortal pops out. Zoun holds. And as the observer's pointing out, that was 9 SCVs going down. Looks like we don't have WSS Game Heart, so we can't see the workers being killed. But regardless, 9 workers did fall. So a nice counterattack by Zoun, and Zoun can expand. He survives. And GuMiho's not done. Here comes the second wave, this time with Stim. 3rd CC's on the way. 3rd base was delayed for GuMiho in favor of this aggression. Bear that in mind. Drop comes back in, forcing friendly fire. Keeping GuMiho pinned. GuMiho is going to be stuck back at home despite having Stim. He has to respect the War Prism. Until the Prism goes down, GuMiho, he will be just being more defensive. Meanwhile, Zoun now taking into Blink, taking into a Temple Archives. So Blink Stalkers, Archons into Storm, I would imagine. And we can embrace the mid-game. We made it. Despite the chaotic game in Game 1, and despite the chaotic start here in Game 2, we can get into a longer game state. We can have a back and forth, getting to our 3rd bases, embracing our economies. We can settle in. As GuMiho is now landing his 3rd base, going for a drop at the same time. Zoun is being somewhat active, but he has to be very careful. This is a very fragile, very bare bones army. So Zoun, he pulls away. And again, from here we can get into the mid game. Zoun does need to expand soon. For those that are curious, typically the Protoss player wants to be up in expansion compared to the Terran just because of mules, how the economies work. And is getting some economic damage. Nice drop into the mineral line. This does make up for it. Getting a handful of SCVs. Zoun is maintaining himself. Building up. Temple Archives is done. We have yet to see Storm. Not yet. And as Zoun, as he attempts to expand and get a fourth, he is delayed. But thankfully, the fourth base isn't too far behind. The fourth has finally been placed. GuMiho is aware. And now GuMiho has a target. The fourth base of Zoun. Let's see if he tries to knock it down. For now, just securing himself. He's securing his bases. I had assumed that Zoun was going to be taking into Storm, but that is a Bay on the way. Looks like the Temple Archives are just for Archons, and he's working towards Colossus. Now, this tells me that the splash damage of Zoun is very delayed. So he is vulnerable. GuMiho poking out, but last Zoun, he has the ramp, or he has the bridge, I should say. He has control of the choke point. And again, this is one of the big features of Ultra Love, is how defendable this map is. It is so difficult to push past the halfway mark with your main armies. Zelaron gets cleaned up. Nice defense here by GuMiho. But again, there are so many choke points, so many ramps on Ultra Love. There's a reason why we often see late game on this map. We often see, 6 base versus 6 base. Zoun gets through though. Does get through the ramp. GuMiho out of position, going for a base trade. Oh god. He abandons the third base. And he's going across the map, trading his third for the third base of Zoun. And the expansion is gonna fall for both players. But does GuMiho keep going? Do we have a recall? Yeah, there is. There is a recall in time. The robot finally goes down. It was on like 1 HP. The robot falls. GuMiho has to kite back. Doesn't get surrounded. Does get away. We can see his Zoun double expanding, getting his 5th and his 3rd. And this was good damage by GuMiho, but I would say not enough. GuMiho is stuck on 2 bases. And Zoun, if we can get this 5 base setup up and running, then Zoun is going to snowball out of control. GuMiho is on a timer. GuMiho is on a timer. He either has to kill or snipe some bases. Or snipe some of these expansions. As GuMiho is floating his main base over. Zoun containing GuMiho. That is Zoun's win condition. All he has to do is just contain. Just contain the Terran and expand. That's all that Zoun has to do. But now he commits though. Yeah, it does dive in. The tanks are unsieged. Tanks are unsieged. Mine shot's going off though. That's a heavy bio army. Yeah, bullying back the Protoss. Trying to stim in, getting us over the Immortals. The Immortals are exposed. They're going to be going down one after the other. And again, there's no splash damage here. No Disruptors, no Colossus, no Storm. Oh, GuMiho, he takes the fight. And GuMiho, he can keep pushing. Can keep moving out for now. Pulling back. Does want to risk it. Gets his 3rd base up and running. Stalkers, they rotate. Zoun hitting the 3rd. But GuMiho's here. GuMiho's ready. Oh, we'll lose the tank. Massive pickoff. Tank goes down. The first Disruptor on the way for Zoun. This is risky. Zoun to skip Colossus to go straight for Disruptors is a very risky thing to do. We'll see if he gets away with it. Stalker's getting picked up. As you can imagine, Disruptors are very much so. They're very risky in how they play. And GuMiho, he expands. Throws in a 4th. Technically a 3rd. 3rd TC on the way. This tells me that Zoun gets away with his double expand. And even though Zoun was taking a lot of losses army-wise, economically, he is going to be taking a lead. As he can make 5 probes at a time. But in a head-on fight, Zoun, he can't quite take it to GuMiho. GuMiho threatens to move out. Zoun trying to keep up. Thankfully, Zoun, he has observers. Zelaron by here towards the 3rd. GuMiho's ready. As the main armies, they do clash. GuMiho stimming in, takes out the Zealots, going for the Stalkers. He breaks through. And GuMiho, he can take this fight. He has the better upgrades, the better army, the more efficient army, I should say. And where are the Disruptors? Oh. Do the Disruptors go down? It's possible they got caught out. They should be here. So 0 disruptors for Zoun. He has 1 on the way. And GuMiho is going for the kill. Disruptor has arrived. Nova goes up. Oh, grazes the army. Shot goes off on the tank. But GuMiho has far too much. He's snowballing out of control. Again, there's just nothing to stop him. He breaks through the defensive line, gets all the bases, and the Nexus is going to fall. And he can just keep going. Zoun was just unable to recover. As we mentioned, it was a very risky thing to go for the disruptors. It happened off screen, but Zoun, he lost 3 disruptors in the end. GuMiho GG gets called, and GuMiho takes a 2-0 lead. Whew. GG. A very tense game. Very tense game, very clutch, very close. GuMiho does close out in the end. Again, Zoun, all he had to do was survive, get into his 5-base economy, and get into his rover production. We didn't see it quite on cameras there, but again, Zoun, he had 2 disruptors, and it looked like GuMiho caught them. It looked like he caught the disruptors, they went down without getting a single Nova off, and with that, GuMiho, he took the fight, was able to snowball out of control from there. And Zoun just never had any splash damage. He had 1 Nova towards the end, but only 1. GG. GG, well played. Now we're going all the way to game number 3. And we'll see how this story ends. Does GuMiho take the 3-0, or does Zoun bounce back? Again, Ultra Love could have gone either way. I can see a world where Zoun takes that instead, as we're loading into another smaller map. Leylands is a smaller map, and as a result, I expect GuMiho to be active once again. I expect him to be aggressive. Both Game 1 and Game 2, we've seen different builds, but aggression nonetheless out of GuMiho, and we expect something very similar here on Leylands. Let's go. Let us go. As we are settling in. Hopefully Zoun can calm things down. I'm sure he knows how close he was to winning that game as well. I'm sure he is aware. And hopefully he can shake it off and focus on the matches. We go. Yeah, when it comes to ley lines, it is a bit of a more, I will tell you, one of the more standard maps, so probably the most standard map in the map pool, where we have a shorter rush distance by ground. We have somewhat defendable bases, but not as extreme as Ultra Love, for example. Not as extreme. So it does allow for more back and forth. And we'll see how our players open up. As we're loading into potentially the final game of the series, spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have Zoun, Green Protoss. In the bottom left, we have his opponent. We have GuMiho, Korean Terran. Let's go. Let us go. GuMiho's background / house looks nice. For those that are curious, it is a green screen, but we want to believe it's his house. It is his it's his holiday house, is what we should say. Is GuMiho's holiday house. You know, spending his time in Princeton. Let's go. By the fireside. Still celebrating Christmas, of course. Is this where we do we name and shame people that leave their Christmas decorations up for most of the year? I'll be honest, I remember growing up, there was a year where I think we had reached July and we still had the Christmas tree up. Like I think we've gone up to July while still having the Christmas tree up when I was a kid. I'm pretty sure that's happened. At a certain point, you're closer to the next Christmas than the previous one, so you may as well just leave it up. You may as well just commit and just leave it up all year, so then it's ready, right? Why bring it down when you have to bring it back up? True. Aye. If it's still up in July, might as well just leave it. Might as well. I think we ended up bringing it down in September. We didn't leave it up all year. I think September is when we brought it down. Around like August, September. That's yeah. just never got around to it. Has anyone gone all year? No shot. We call it the Christmas room instead of the living room. Oh no. Aye. That did happen. I think that was like 2010, maybe 2011, like around that. But now though, we're settling in. Do have our economic openers. This time Zoun going to be opening up with a Twilight Council, not a Robo. This is a much more active style. Getting into Blink, of course, and we'll see how many gateways Zoun throws down. Does it go 2-gate Blink, 3-gate Blink, or 4-gate Blink Stalker? We'll see how he does commit. Shall see. Meanwhile, we have GuMiho getting into his own 1-1-1. Economic opener into his factory, into his starport. Now, every game so far, we have seen early tank production out of GuMiho in some way. And we'll see if that trend continues here in Game 3. As he is being active with his Marines. So far, I believe no Tech Lab. Not yet. There we go. Tech Lab's on the way in the factory. And last game, he did not add-on swap. There was no add-on swap out of GuMiho, so we started up early tank production into a medevac. We'll see if he swaps or if he doesn't. If he swaps, then it could be a Banshee-based opener instead. And there it is, Liberators on the way. Are we going for the early tank? I believe we are. Oh no, it's my point. Cyclone instead. True, you do need a tech level for the Cyclone. So Cyclone production and Liberator production here early on for GuMiho. So it is being aggressive, but a very different form of aggression this time from the Terran. Getting to Lib Cyclone. Back at home, I believe that is the third gateway on the way. Yep, third gateway on the way for Zoun. So 3-gate Blink, very safe opener. 2 more Raxes on the way for GuMiho. Still no third CC. And Zoun is setting up for his own third expansion. So far, GuMiho denying the scouts, or at least trying to. Hallucination does scout the production at least. The Liberator moves out. And GuMiho has eyes on the would-be third. Okay, so it looks like it was only a safety Cyclone. Just harassing with the Liberator. He doesn't move out with his army. Just with the Lib. As GuMiho is working on +1. No tank production whatsoever this time. Interesting. I mean, again, Game 1 and Game 2, GuMiho was all about cranking out those tanks as quickly as possible. This time, it's more of a biocentric composition. Early +1, into Stim, into early Marauder production as well. It's all about that bio. Now, the question becomes, can he maintain himself? Can he defend against the Blink Stalkers? Without tanks, it can be difficult to hold. Can be difficult, but of course, Zoun did take a third base. Just now being active with some Stalkers, but doesn't really have enough to really threaten GuMiho too much. Stalkers have arrived. There's a bunker on the low ground. And that should be enough to deter. Zanny pokes in. The Liberator has yet to commit. GuMiho just chilling outside of the bases. Now once again applying pressure here to the natural. Can bring down the bunker. Yeah, the repair's not in time. Bunker goes down. Marines as well. Nice valley here out of Zoun. Does catch the Marines. Stim not quite done. Forcing a recall. Stalkers, they make it back. And Zoun is just chilling. Just chilling. His third base getting saturated. Getting into Colossus production. The bay is on the way. Gateway explosion for charge lots. Zoun looking much more comfortable. I should say, this is the most comfortable Zoun has looked the entire series. And the big reason for this is because unlike the previous games, there's been no early tank push. GuMiho has been more passive in this game. And Zoun, he can get into his own game state here. Armies there are about to clash. Stim is finishing up. As GuMiho moves out, Zoun is moving in with that drop. Does have a Zealot drop towards the main. GuMiho, he stims in, goes to the dive, does get a sentry. Sentry goes down, Zealots as well. Oof. Mindshot going off here on the Adept, and GuMiho, can he get on top of the Colossus? He cannot. The Colossus does pop out just in time, and with the help of the Colossus, Zoun, he holds. He does hold, he does defend. 3 probes going down to the main. At the same time, Zealot drop into the main base of GuMiho, warping into the natural. And Zoun is getting a lot done. 8 SCVs so far, and the warp in completes. Not quite getting a 10th worker, but does get 9. There we go. 10 SCVs going down. And GuMiho is being pulled apart. Zoun getting a fourth, pushing towards a third CC. Can he force a no shot? He shouldn't force a cancel. But he does delay. GuMiho stims in, gets a Colossus. Oh, the pickup might the Colossus, it stands strong. Zoun is stumbling out of control. Oh god! The Mind Shot! Mind Shot goes off, takes down the Colossus. The CC survives, does complete. But GuMiho is still up against the wall. There's still barely an army here for GuMiho. The CC is going to be focused down and GuMiho has nothing left. This is what happens when GuMiho is more passive. This is when GuMiho just isn't hyper aggressive in your face. Zoun is the one that snowballs out of control. Takes down 5 SCVs, 6 SCVs, even 7. Doesn't quite kill the third. Liberator's being a nuisance in the main. But Zoun has momentum. He's almost got double the worker count of GuMiho. Getting his fourth. Christmas, 365 days of the year. Exactly. It's always Christmas. At least in GuMiho's house. Let's go. Let's go. Look, it takes a lot of effort, you know. Taking down the tree, stuffing it in a box, taping up the box, taking it outside. It's oh no. GuMiho pushing in towards the fourth. Somewhat being active, but I mean, again, Zoun is looking very comfortable. He collapses on the main army, chasing it down. There's just barely anything left here for GuMiho. Has one medevac, does escape. And at a certain point, Zoun can just commit in towards the third base once again. As he will catch out the army. Medevac falls. There are at least a couple of Widow Mines shots about to be going off. They didn't quite get baited out. Oh, they connect here with the main army. But the second Colossus has arrived, and there's just no backbone to the army of GuMiho. No tagline to fall back on. As Colossus, they do threaten the mineral line. Oh. And catching out the Widow Mines. One shot going up. Zoun still reinforcing, and there is no War Prism that is keeping GuMiho in this, as it takes a long time for the reinforcements to arrive. But as I say that, here comes the War Prism, and here come the War Pins. GG gets called as Zoun, he breaks through, and Zoun makes a series out of this, putting a point on the board. GG. GG, well played. Again, we had a much more passive game here out of GuMiho, setting up and getting into a bit of a later bio timing and bio aggression. As a result, Zoun was able to comfortably get into his natural, get into his third base, take up into Colossus, maintain map control, and yeah, just get into his game. He had just a much more comfortable setup here on ley lines. And with that, Zoun fights back. Now we're getting to game number 4, a map that we don't often get to see here. We're going to be loading into Frostline. Frostline, a very large map in the map pool, but also a very awkward map as well. The natural, the third base, the fourth base, these bases, they're all very spread out. They're all isolated from each other. Because of that, regardless of whether it's Zoun or GuMiho, aggression is favored on this map. The downside, though, is the size. The size of the map is quite large, so it takes a long time to actually move out. But once you get momentum going, it's very difficult to actually maintain yourself and save and hold on to these bases and get into the mid game. After what happened on ley lines, I would imagine maybe GuMiho is going back into aggression and back into early tank production. We'll see though. We'll see. The onus is going to be on GuMiho coming into this. Meanwhile, Zoun has momentum. Can he force an ace match? Personally, I hope so. I would love to see a Game 5 between these two. Would have liked to have seen a Game 5 previously between Astray and Spirit as well. We'll see if we can get there. We shall see. Coiling the lights, untangling them again, putting on the ornaments onto the tree. True. The bottom left-hand corner, we have Zoun, the South Korean Protoss. In the top right, we have GuMiho, the Korean Terran. Let's go. Here we go. So we are going to be settling in this time for the first time, I think, this series, Double Gas. Okay, Double Gas opener out of GuMiho. May have seen it previously, but I did miss it. But this does mean a faster factory from our Terran player. With this can mean faster tank production as well. So our eye is going to be on GuMiho to see how committed he's going to be. As Zoun dips in for a scout. Here we go. Checking each globe in case one blows you. Oh my god. Oh no. As it is, the factory is going to be on the way. Likewise, Zoun just opening up in a standard fashion, just a gate cybercore into expansion. Zoun settling in. And it's all about what is going to be done here with this factory. Do we open up with Reaper Hellion? Do we open up early Cyclone? Do we open up with early tanks or even into Banshee play? Widowmine drop? GuMiho has options. Takes down the probe. See what he does embrace. Christmas lights are generally made cheap, so I mean, I think we've had the same Christmas lights for like how long? 25 years. Like to be fair, I think some of the lights like individually don't work, but it's fine. It's like it's fine. As long as most of them light up, it's all good. It's all good. So now we do have our move out. Starport follow-up here. It is going to be initially Reaper Hellion. And the goal for GuMiho should be to bust into a middle line, to race past the ground army. But Zoun, he does notice, he does start walling up. The gateway has been placed, and he does have the sentry for force fields. Ooh, so this is a big commitment here from GuMiho, and if he doesn't get into the middle line, then it's not going to be worth it. Does threaten a dive. The army's in position. Oh! Zoun holds. Zoun, he does hold. GuMiho force back, following this up with a Widowmine drop. And so far, Zoun in a better position. He deflects the army. This is a big investment here by GuMiho. But there is going to be another opportunity here with the mine drop. He can always come in with both armies, with the Hellions, with the Reapers, with the Widowmines as well. So there is going to be another window, another timing here to get damage done. As the Widowmines move out, as they move out, the hallucination barely does spot the drop. Zoun is getting ready. GuMiho makes his way towards the main. Likewise, Reaper Hellion towards the natural. And we'll see if Zoun can keep up. Let's go. Reaper Hellion trading with the pylon, going for the sentry. And the sentry is going to go down. Takes a lot of hits. Jesus. Takes a lot of hits, but does fall. At least GuMiho gets something for his trouble, something for his army. At the same time, Widowmine into the main, but Zoun, he is paying attention. Does pull away in time. And shouldn't lose too much here. Oh god. Okay. Blink is done. Does avoid the shot, so very clean defense here by Zoun. He shuts down the Reaper Hellion, he shuts down the Widowmines. I believe there is still one Widowmine in the medevac, so GuMiho still has potential for some damage, but has been having a bit of a harder time here. So far, Zoun is in a better position. With this, Zoun taking up. Charge on the way, Forge for upgrades, Gateway Explosion. And GuMiho is stuck at home until Stim finishes. Once the upgrades do complete, GuMiho can move out and expand. Assuming he wants to expand, we'll see if he throws out extra Raxes or a third TC. So our eyes are on GuMiho to see if he does commit into more production or into his economy. Bay is on the way for Zoun. Now this Bay has been delayed from Zoun. It's a bit of a later Robotics Bay. We'll see if we can get away with it. See if he can get away. As the Bay is about to finish, here comes GuMiho's move out. Now GuMiho is not going for a 2-base all-in. Third CC is in production in the main. So it looks like this move out is just to expand, just to fortify himself and maintain control of the map. Forcing back Zoun. First Colossus is in production. And GuMiho again is just posturing. It's only posturing here. I don't think he really has any intention of pushing in towards the third base or towards the natural. As GuMiho pulls away. Just puffing up his chest. While he tries to expand. And we're working towards the mid-game. Let's go. Similarly to the previous game, we're headed towards a longer game stage into a 3-base economy. Which means that we should soon be seeing a 4th base from Zoun once he's secure. And once again, 2 games in a row, Zoun can actually get comfortable. He can actually embrace his PvT and what he does best. GuMiho is landing his 3rd base. Zoun is getting his 4th. As again, the Protoss typically wants to be up in expansion. Do you want to be up a base? If a Terran's ever up a base, then you know something's wrong. Then you then things are dire. But for now, we're building up. I believe that's the 2nd, if not 3rd, Colossus on the way for Zoun. Soon going to be embracing a 2nd Robo into Disruptors. Now, something that we should emphasize here that I stand by, as we mentioned coming into Frostline, is how exposed these bases are and how difficult it is to hold on to a 4th. What I'm referring to here is that if you look at the base locations, the 3rd base and the 4th base are very isolated from each other. They're very spread out. So if you are failing to keep up with the army movement, if you don't see the army rotations of your opponent, then the aggressing player can sneak up on your 3rd or 4th base and knock it down. So it's all about map vision and map control. Zoun needs to keep eyes on GuMiho's army. I mean, vice versa. As Zoun is being active. The Observer does follow the tanks. We have a Zealot runway towards the left-hand side. Zoun getting in position on the right. And the Observer gets spotted. Zoun pulls away. And he's hoping with that Zealot runway as Zoun doesn't have eyes on the army, but alas, the Zealots, they are deflected. GuMiho keeps up. Behind this, there's a 2nd Robo and the 1st Disruptor. Both armies are maxing out. And they are about to clash. Scan reveals the army. GuMiho getting his 4th CC. Got a very tense movement. Zoun expanding towards his opponent. Taking bottom right. GuMiho setting up for a surround. Uh-oh. He does have a flanking army. He scans. Zoun, he doesn't push in, thankfully. If he had, he would have been exposed to that surround. Would have been vulnerable. GuMiho going for a counterattack instead. He hasn't seen the expansion of Zoun, but he's about to come across it. And again, this base is very exposed. Actually, GuMiho, he doesn't commit. Turns back. Does turn back around, runs into the Zealots. Cleans them up. Once again, both armies are posturing. Sandy reinforces. GuMiho setting up for a flank. Actually bringing his army together. Shuts down the Observer. GuMiho in position. And can GuMiho expand? We are at 200 supply. Oh, tank boy is going off. The tanks are exposed. And both tanks are going to go down. Massive catch here from Zoun. GuMiho, he was out of position. Yeah, half his army was out, just out towards the left-hand side. Nova goes off. Nova doesn't quite connect. First Colossus goes down. Second one as well under fire, but reinforcements, they have arrived. And Zoun, he's so close to breaking GuMiho here and now. And it looks like he barely is. Takes down the bio, gets on top of the Marauders. Winning another wave of Zealots. And it's coming. Oh, the Zealots are distracted. Distracted by the CC. But again, a much more efficient trade here from Zoun. Did shut down the army. Again, it was so unfortunate that GuMiho happened to be moving out as the army pushed in. As GuMiho was pushing towards the north side. Towards the top side instead. Never goes off. Massive connection. And Zoun is done. He's broken the back of GuMiho. GG gets called. And Zoun ties up the series. We are going to the ace match. Whew. GG. And again, Zoun, just get him into the mid game. just get him into the mid game, Pappy. That's all he needs. That's what he was denied in the first 2 games. And with that, we're going all the way to game 5. Just give this man a 3-base economy. Just or even a 4th-base economy, to be fair. As he was able to catch GuMiho out of position and was able to abuse him in that one moment and snowball out of control. And with that, we make our way into game 5. We're going to be loading into Whispers of Gold. We have a game 5 coming up ahead of us. Now, what I should emphasize here about Whispers of Gold, I was talking about how on Frostline it is so imperative that you keep up with the army movements of your opponents to keep up with their rotations. Here on Whispers of Gold, it's a little bit different. This is the most aggressive map in the map pool. Very exposed bases here, very short rush distance by ground. That's the difference here. It's, in a way, kind of similar to Frostline, but a much smaller map. Much smaller map. Shorter rush distance across the map as well. Takes so much less time to actually move out to reinforce. And we have seen a lot of successful all-ins on Whispers of Gold. Now, based on GuMiho's playstyle so far, and based on how he was able to get momentum in Game 1 and Game 2, I feel like we expect something more aggressive this time in the Ace match. Likewise, though, I'm sure Zoun expects that as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Zoun opens up with a Robo, for example, like a Robo opener, or like 3-gate Blink into a delayed 3rd base as well, maybe even Robo before the 3rd. In general, I feel like we expect either more aggressive openers or just very safe openers here from Zoun. We'll see. We shall see as we're getting into the ace match. And in the top left-hand corner, we have the Korean Protoss player, Zoun. And in the bottom right, we have his opponent, we have GuMiho, the Korean Terran. Here we go. It all ends here. It all ends on Whispers of Gold. Spam this town to help out Zoun. Oh no. He's got the town. He's got the count. He is a clown. I just aye. No, not at all. Not at all. We're here. We're getting into the ace match. I'm ready for it. And GuMiho opening up double gas. So double gas opened out of GuMiho. Now we saw in the previous game, I mean, we spoke about how, like, oh, you know, Zoun, he was able to snowball out of control in the mid game. He was able to look strong there with a solid economy. But part of that was also the fact, if you remember, that GuMiho did go for a very aggressive opener and it did not pay for itself. I'm referring to the commitment into Reaper Hellion and the Widowmine drop as well. And what did it really get? It got maybe 1 probe, if that. If you recall, I mean, not even a probe going down to the Widowmine drop. So it was a very rough start for GuMiho, as Zoun was able to comfortably get into his 3-base economy, then leading into the mid game, of course. So there's a reason why Zoun got as comfortable as he did in the previous game, and we'll see what this double gas opener leads into this time. Again, last game, this double gas led into Reaper Hellion into Mine Drop. This time, we could be seeing, once again, Reaper Hellion. We could be seeing a more committed Widowmine drop into 4 Widowmines instead of 2. We could be seeing Banshees, early tank production. We were giving praise to GuMiho earlier this series. Game 1 and Game 2 was all based off of these early tank pushes. We have not seen one in quite some time, though. Is this the time to fall back on early tank production? Or do we go for something different? As a factory is on the way. GuMiho moving out with that first Reaper. Gets eyes on the setup. GuMiho is expanding on location, so no crazy one base all in. Is throwing down the CC. Followed by the 1-1-1. Okay, there's going to be Reaper into Reactor. With this, we're not quite set up for an add-on swap. There we go. It's straight into the tech lab here on the factory. 0 Hellions. So this time, 0 Hellion production, 0 Reaper production. Marines are on the way, so GuMiho is preserving his gas, which means this should be one of 2 things. Either early tank or add-on swap into Banshee play. What's it going to be? Oh, this I was not expecting. Hello. It's a bit of a fake out. The hallucination does get eyes on the tech lab, but it's going to be a mine drop instead. Okay, GuMiho, you have my attention. Now, I think it's only going to be 1 Widowmine, right? The Widowmine is revealed. Yeah, Widowmine is a Cyclone. So it's going to be very light commitment into the drop across the map. And what's important here is that Zoun did spot the Widowmine. He did see it, is aware of it. Here comes the drop across the map. Zoun moving up with another hallucination. He will miss the medevac, but he should confirm that the Widowmine is nowhere to be found at home. He should notice that the army is missing. The medevac is missing as well. Zoun, he's maneuvering over into the main, so good read here out of Zoun. He knows he's ready. Yeah, he is in position. GuMiho is deflected. And so far, a much stronger start for the Protoss. Now, thankfully, GuMiho doesn't lose anything. Sure, the drop didn't get any damage, but he saves the medevac, he saves the units, he can fall back, consolidate his army, and come in for some more value. As Zoun, oh no! As Zoun, he almost catches the medevac. GuMiho, get out of here. Does boost away. Whew. Does save his units. That could have been disastrous. That could have been brutal. Meanwhile, Zoun, he is going for the Robo before the 3rd base, so a very safe play here out of Zoun. Did delay his 3rd. With that, Robo can get into early Immortal production. Stim is on the way for GuMiho. And he's embracing his tanks this time. As a reminder, last game he didn't make a single tank, but the tanks are building up. And he should be working towards the Stim timing. Meanwhile, Zoun pokes in, keeping tabs on his opponents, ideally keeping GuMiho contained. Gets a volley off on the medevac. Meanwhile, GuMiho does move out, so we'll be able to harass. Goes to the mineral line. The Raven taking a lot of hits. Oh my god, the Raven will barely survive. Just barely. Gets 2 probe kills. Raven in a rough position. 1 more shot. It does go down. Even Zoun catching the Widowmine. Meanwhile, GuMiho with the Unsiege. He's looking to move out. Oh, he spots the Observer. He sees. Does scan. Gets a lock on. He will shut it down. Massive pickoff. Zoun has that much less information. You see Zoun reinforcing. Immortal is on the way. And GuMiho doesn't push. He throws down a 3rd CC on location, and Zoun doesn't know. Zoun trying to poke in. He is denied. He is denied the scouts. If Zoun was aware of the 3rd CC, he could be throwing down his own bay, taking gases, working towards Colossus. Even throwing down extra gateways even. The May thankfully is on the way. Does need it. Likewise, GuMiho expanding should also be the sign for Zoun to expand as well. And I believe Zoun is piecing it all together. Yeah, now he knows. Does spot the command center, he knows what's going on. Working towards his Colossus. Zealot Rame set up as well. And Zoun should soon be expanding. Yep, speaking of, there it is. Fourth base is on the way. Again, as GuMiho takes a third, Zoun he needs to get his fourth. So he is building up. And once again, we can embrace the mid game. Let's go. No early game aggression. No early move outs. I mean, we had GuMiho attempting the drop, but he was deflected. Likewise, the Raven didn't get much done either. And once again, I am going to be favoring Zoun here in this kind of game state. We'll see if GuMiho can pop off. But now still just building up his army. Trying to do some nice scouting. Sounds the king of clowns in town. Oh no. Oh no. Not like this. Forcing friendly fire. For CC on the way for GuMiho, this tells us that he intends to just get into a longer game state and max out. Zoun is going to be patrolling though. Second robo is on the way. This should be for disruptors. Now Zoun should not be pushing into the third. There's no reason to. His goal here should just be to contain. To contain the Terran. Or capitalize on some opportunities. The tanks are out of position. Oh, mine's just going off. Decent trade. There it is. Zoun now getting a fifth. Fifth base, second robo, double forge, double upgrades. Zoun should be free to tech up in such a way. Likewise, GuMiho going for a second starport into +1 air attack. Into Mass Viking. Ghost production has begun. But again, Zoun is in control. He is still just containing his opponent. Zoun is the first to max out. And upon maxing out, it should be on Zoun to start to trade. And again, the goal shouldn't be to break any kind of position here, but to maybe invest into some run buys, into some drop play. Delaying the fourth, of course. So let's rotate. GuMiho repositioning his tanks. Attempting to expand. Tanks do siege. Trading out stalkers. Some rough trades here from Zoun. Expensive losses. Ghost moving in for the MP. Oh, does connect. And GuMiho expands. The fourth base is getting up. Zoun, he rotates. GuMiho is trying to keep up. So far, so good. GuMiho is maintaining himself. Zoun does have a Zealot Rabbi set up. Pushing in, both armies are maxed. Never goes off. Up! Grazes the army, takes down a couple of Marines. A couple of Marines do go down. Zoun now getting a 6th expansion. Embracing more upgrades. But this could still go either way. A lot of this will come down to the positioning, will come down to the engagements. As GuMiho, he is securing himself on 4 bases. Fully walls up. Is that a doggo? Haven't noticed that critter there before. Meanwhile, Zoun goes to the dive. Yeah, the tanks are exposed. He gets one. Ooh, barely nuts. Somehow the tank does live. Again, you can see Zoun just banking up almost 3,000 minerals. Ideally, he does want to trade. So the run right towards the third. But doesn't quite break through. Doesn't break through the defenses. So far, sole defense here by GuMiho. Is out trading Zoun. And Zoun is thinking about Sky Toss. Fleet Beacons on the way. Into +1 air attack, I would imagine. Now pushing in. Does take the EMP to the face. Never goes off. Ooh, no connection. Hot pickup. The micro. GuMiho pulls back in time. Decent concave, but the tank's not quite in position. Nova gets a ghost. Ghost does fall. And again, this is what Zoun wants. He wants to trade in such a manner as Zoun is instantly remaxing. And GuMiho is burning through his bank. Planetary is up. And Zoun should attempt to knock it down. Novas are going to zone away. And Planetary falls. Nice pickup. Zoun can keep pushing in. Going for the mineral line. Liberators have arrived. We have some freedom, but not too much. And just 2 libs. Depot wall is falling. Zoun is gaining ground, just zoning back the army. GuMiho can't quite engage. But he's out of Novas. Oh, Nova goes up. Doesn't connect. Massive pickup. The disruptors are exposed. All 4 of them go down. And Zoun is forced back. Very nice fight there by GuMiho. Resets the disruptor count. And without disruptors, Zoun, I don't know if he can really push into this. It goes for the dive, blinks in. Colossus are going down. And Zoun plummets in supply. That was not it. Yeah, pushing into a concave, pushing into Liberators without any disruptors. That was a brutal fight for Zoun. And GuMiho holds. Zoun is burning through his bank. And again, just much more efficient fights from the Terran. And Zoun just overextending. Again, Zoun's army is just so much weaker now. He only has 2 disruptors. He can't really engage. Does keep trying to. Nice kiting here by GuMiho. Nova gets 1 Marauder. 5th base is now being taken. Yeah, you could argue that Zoun, he got too impatient. Too impatient previously. I mean, the specific moment was him losing the disruptors. Like, losing all 4 disruptors. Was brutal. Now he's built back up. Tempests have arrived. He's got his Tempest. With that, he has an answer to these Liberators. There he goes off. Good connection. First lib goes down. GuMiho getting ready for a surround. He blinks in. Oh, that was crazy. Does blink in. The Nova, massive connection. Nova's going to be going up. That was a very tense moment. Zoun, he doesn't trade too badly. Likewise, Nova going to be going up once again, collapsing on the Marauders. Most of the Bio army does fall. Zoun having a much better trade this time. The Novas have been on point. And the Bio army, it's barely there. It's mainly Liberators at this point. I'll pick up. Save some Marauders. Stalkers with the slow warp in. Or with the warp in. We'll shut this down. Again, that bank that Zoun once had isn't quite there anymore. It's just building up those Tempest. Zoun's probe count is actually quite low, which is concerning. He's only got 65 workers. That's 3 base saturation. He could do with more probes. The Tempest are making off of that. DTs into the mineral lines. Distracting GuMiho. As the DTs are still wreaking havoc. Forcing out more scans. GuMiho getting torn apart, and the Tempest count is getting high. It's getting quite high here. Nervous once again, they don't quite connect. But the Tempest are getting free damage. Picking off tanks, liberators, marines, whatever they can. GuMiho steps in, massive EMP. EMP on the Tempest, but alas he pulls away. Zoun still maintains himself. And there's just not enough Terran here. GuMiho once again going for Lib Harass. Does peel off a couple of Liberators. Likewise, DT's waddling in. I mean, it's still on a knife's edge. As this army is still quite fragile for Zoun. And speaking of, Zoun, he barely has a gateway army to support. One wrong move and Zoun will lose everything. Meanwhile, 11 SCVs go down. The DTs are just popping off. Zoun, he may be down in work. He may have a low worker count, but I mean, GuMiho even lower. That's 12 SCVs falling. DTs are still active. Oh, that blink. Just gonna be distracting GuMiho. As GuMiho is landing his 5th base. Getting it up and running. Zoun, can he deny it? He's pushing in. Nova's gonna be going off. Ooh, massive connections. Finally, the connections that Zoun was looking for. He shuts down the fire, the Marines, the Marauders. I don't think there are any ghosts left. And Zoun, he's done it. Yeah, at this point, he has finally done it. He's broken the back here of GuMiho. Disruptors, they are denied. But it may not matter. Zelse coming from behind. Another disruptor goes down. Good trades here to GuMiho. He does shut down 4 disruptors. And another once again. Takes down the disruptors, but alas, still too many losses for GuMiho. The Tempest is still standing strong. And GuMiho has just been outscaled. Just been outscaled over time. That's what, 7 Tempests for Zoun. And GuMiho just gives up the base. He cannot save it. Expansion's gonna fall. Zoun finally making probes. Realized he could do with some more workers. Probes are on the way. Still just focusing on disruptor production. Denies the expansion. GuMiho floating towards the left-hand side. Another base gonna be falling. And GuMiho is on his last legs. He just cannot engage. Not against this army. Yo, Shatters the Thriving GG. Hope you had a good stream. Hope you had a good ladder session. Welcome one and all to Massive Coliseum. Welcome to the final game of the final series of the night. And we're honestly towards the tail end of the game as well. It went all the way to the ace match, but alas. GuMiho does go for a counterattack. Let's go. We'll bring down the base. Does he force a recall? That's what he's hoping for. He's hoping for a recall. Trying to buy some time. But Zoun, he's maxed out. Jesus, has a terrifying army. The Tempests have just been getting so much value over time. And just bullying GuMiho. GuMiho down to 0 Vikings, 0 Liberators, 0 Ghosts. Just purely Marine Marauder, a very cheap army. It's all that GuMiho can afford. As he's making 10 Marines at a time. And Zoun just rotates. He rotates. Going for the fringe bases. As he has so many Novas available. When they connect. Novas, they pop up. Decent collapse here from GuMiho coming in from multiple angles. But there's just so much Protoss. They'll say collapse on the army. And again, there's nothing else behind this. There's no Widowmines, no tanks. Just Marine and Marauder. And a dream, Pappy. Can he hold on? He can. For at least a little bit longer. As yeah, GuMiho hands off the keyboard. He knows it is looking bleak. GG gets called, and Zoun, he will take the series 3-2, advancing on to the next round and eliminating GuMiho from the tournament. GG. Whew. GG, well played. It went the distance, went all the way to the ace match, but congratulations, Zoun will advance on. And it was a rough start for Zoun. GuMiho, he was up 2-0. He was up 2-0 in this best of 5. A very strong start for GuMiho with these more aggressive builds. If you remember, he was going for these early tank pushes and 2 base all-ins, early tank aggression, even off of 1 base as well. But alas, Game 3, Game 4, Game 5, GuMiho, he slowed things down a little bit, went for some more standard openers instead, went for more mid-game play, and that is where Zoun thrived. Zoun, who was able to thrive there with a stronger economy, with a stronger army, of course, or with an army, I should say, as opposed to the first 2 games, and he had a more back and forth, was able to bring it all the way back to the ace match, and did take it in the end. GG. GG, well played, congratulations, Zoun does advance on. My condolences to GuMiho as he is out of the tournament. Again, I would say that he was favored coming into this series, and he came so close as well. But did end up falling. And congratulations. Congratulations to Zoun. Congratulations to Estrella, as both Zoun and Estrella do make it into the next round. And with that, I believe we're about to get an updated bracket to find out what happens next week and what matches are ahead of us. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it here. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys don't want to wait for the graphic. One moment as we have a look at it ourselves. Un momento. Okay, so next week we have our matches. It is going to be Hero versus Rainer. Oh boy, it's going to be a PvZ. I look forward to it. Hero versus Rainer is always a banger. Hero typically is favored against Rainer. He has a winning record against him, but it's always entertaining matches. Always very entertaining matches between Hero and Rainer. Likewise, we have Cyril versus MaxPax as well. The ZVPs, they continue here next week. I say next week in 4 days' time. In 4 days, we have day number 4 of Masters Coliseum playoffs. So Hero versus Rainer and Cyril versus MaxPax is just going to be 2 matches. The day after that is going to be the loser of those respective matches up against Estrella and Zoun. Do you have those losers matches? So that is what's coming up next week. Or again, in like 5 days. In like 5 days' time. And again, we are soon to be getting that updated graphic. Meanwhile, I believe with Spirit and GuMiho both being eliminated, there are 0 Terrans in the tournament. It's like the opposite of Home Story Cup, where Home Story Cup it was nothing but TVTs. Here, I guess Clem did represent Protoss at Home Story Cup, but here at Masters Coliseum, the Terrans, they did go down early on. I mean, there is a world out there where, you know, Clem, he makes it through the group stage. If you missed out on it, I do recommend the VODs. Clem, he did not make it through the group stage because of a technicality. So it was a rough group stage there for Clem. Otherwise, he should have made it through. Likewise, Oliveira did retire. So I would have said that Oliveira would have been a sure thing to make it through the group stage as well. Alas, not quite the case, as he did step away. Likewise, Maru, we had some crazy upsets, and Maru did fail to make it through the group stage as well. And with that, we have a sea of Protoss and Zerg instead. Whew. Which again, after Home Story Cup is refreshing. It's it is refreshing, Pappy. It is refreshing. Post Home Story Cup. Likewise, of course, this week we have not just Masters Coliseum, but we have the Little League Cup as well. We'll be getting into the remainder of those groups, as we're still in the group stage of Little League Cup, where again all the top players are competing. Or these very same players, I should say. As again, January has been quite busy. And there it is. There is the brackets. Oh, let's quickly go over it. Let us quickly catch up. Yeah, as you can see here, we have Hero and Rainer going to be featured in day number 4. Likewise, MaxPax and Cyril as well. You can see day 5 going to be featuring the lower bracket, the lower matches, and day 6 is going to be the following rounds as well. There it is. The ZVPs are ahead of us. Hero versus Rainer, MaxPax versus Cyril. I do look forward to it. Do look forward to those matches. And again, they are going to be best of 5s. Let's go. Retired from the tournament, retired from StarCraft. Retired from StarCraft. Tired from StarCraft. So it is going to be huge. And again, it is going to be in a couple of days. Let's go. Looks like Zoun found his inner hounds. I mean, as we mentioned, like a lot of it came down to GuMiho backing off when it comes to his aggressive builds. Like GuMiho, he stopped being aggressive and he allowed Zoun to get into his games. But here we go with that. We do thank you for tuning in tonight. Hope you all had a great time in Coliseum. We're going to be back tomorrow with some OOC Challenger bracket and the Wardy TV Monday. Wardy TV Monday is also tomorrow as well. So 2 events every single day for almost the entirety of January. So do look forward to it. With that, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys tomorrow for some more StarCraft. See you then.
恭喜小 hero！ 谁还记得？姐姐，恭喜这次4比3，飞龙在天！哎，算了，恭喜他夺冠吧。一把，我靠！打不过啊，他最后这手感染虫太凶了。最近半年 ，ZVP 56-3给自己点一个赞。
I don't think Cyril has any chance to save this one, but he continues.
It gets killed coming back, and Bunny just doesn't seem to have the numbers.
Didn't even notice the Liberator in the main base, I think. So many probes are going down right now.
Oh my god, they're trying to get back, but they can't, and so many are picked up. A big clump here from Kiri. Tries to split everything up.
Giant force of failings rolling in and clearing the hell. That's massive. Clum!
Mario is once again. Raider has done it.
Cyril did it all, and he is a well-deserving champion.